Hi everybody, my name is Keeley and welcome back to my reading nook. Today I'm going to be doing my January wrap-up, which I'm really excited about because I had a really awesome reading month and I feel like it kicked off the year so well. Especially after I didn't get a lot of reading time at the end of 2021. So yeah, I'm super excited to get into it, and I think I may have found some new favorites. So I think I have some good recommendations in this pile and a lot that span a lot of different genres. So yeah, let's just get into it. This first book, I am truly so sad that I didn't read it in 2021 because when I was making my best books of 2021 video, I truly kept thinking that it was a part of that video because I read it on like the first day of 2022, so it barely missed the cut. But if it had been in that video, or if I had read it in 2021, it 100% would have been in that video. So I'm kind of intrigued to see if this enters my best books of 2022 video, because it was literally the first book that I read in this entire year. So yeah, I'm excited to see. But that book is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. And this book is about a family, the Lees, that live in 1970s suburban Ohio. And they have 3 siblings and 2 parents. And at the beginning of the novel, you find out that Lydia is dead, one of the siblings. And that's not a spoiler. They say it on the back, I promise. But you find out that Lydia has passed away. So you kind of watch the family cope. I'm literally unable to speak today. You watch the family cope with the loss of their sister or daughter. So obviously there's a lot of really sad components because of that. But I will say that Celeste Ng does a really awesome job focusing on the family dynamic. So she highlights, the sibling dynamic when Lydia was alive and then also afterwards, and, the relationship with the parents and each of the siblings individually, the relationship with the parents between each other. This was an instant 5 stars for me. I just feel like Celeste Ng does such a good job providing such well-rounded and well-developed characters where you watch them interact, and each person you can say like, okay, I totally understand why you're reacting this way. And like it's causing a miscommunication between these 2 characters, but you can see so well the perspective of both. And so it really gives a lot of nuance to a family dynamic and like to a contemporary fiction. And also, like I said, since Lydia has passed away, you're kind of reading on to find out what happened to her and, how did this even happen, So there's almost a mystery component to it that I think makes it a very quick read, because you're just curious to see what happened and you're seeing how it's affected the family, and you really want to like get back to that central moment. It was extremely satisfying for me. I love Celeste Ng's writing. She has also written Little Fires Everywhere, which is another book that I absolutely love. But I would highly, highly recommend Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng if you're in the mood for some contemporary fiction, some light mystery, and something that's really heavily invested in those family dynamics and telling like an accurate portrayal of what a real family looks like. Yeah, I loved this book. The next one that I read was because I was kind of trying to lean into that mystery thriller side of things, because I had such a fun time with that component of Everything I Never Told You. And that is The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. So I was really kind of reading a lot of books that had super similar titles, which was really confusing. But The Last Thing He Told Me is about a stepmom and a stepdaughter who kind of go on this journey to figure out what happened to their husband or father when he goes missing. And there's been some accusations of some crimes being committed at his job. And so you're kind of trying to figure out like, okay, was he involved? Was he not involved? Why is he running? Where is he? Like, did he do anything? What is the story here? And the reason I loved it so much was because I felt like the mystery thriller component was good. Like I was super interested in that, but I also felt like what was more interesting was the dynamic between the stepmother and stepdaughter. So it added kind of a like interesting family dynamic spin to what would just be, a classic mystery thriller book. And I also felt like the ending was really satisfying. I didn't see like the plot coming, but I also felt like it was plausible. And I really liked it. It was a super short read, like probably about 310 pages. And I would highly recommend if you're looking for like a quick read. that'll keep you engaged, but also has like some interesting family dynamic in it. I'd probably give this like 4 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. It wasn't like anything like crazy groundbreaking, but I really, really liked it. So I also think this would make a really good movie. So it's kind of one of those. It's like very cinematic. You can totally picture this being like a short series or a movie. But yeah, that's The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. The next book that I finished was for school. This semester I am taking a Russian literature class on Fyodor Dostoevsky. And so the first book that I read for that class, and I read it throughout January, was Notes from Underground, which is a very short, about like 100-page, almost novella. And I'll say it's hard to get into. So if you are interested in picking this up, just know that it is really tough to get into, but at the same time, once you're there, you're really invested. And I think reading this for class was really helpful because we were able to kind of unpack all the stuff that there is to unpack, and if you read this story, you know there's a lot to unpack. But I just felt like Dostoevsky did such an interesting job at humanizing this character and kind of showing us that like every person has a little piece of this underground man in you, and so it really kind of makes you feel introspective after reading it. And this was the first thing I've ever read by Dostoevsky. It was the first thing that I read for the class, which is exciting because I feel like I'm really going to enjoy the books that I read in the rest of the class because I really liked his writing, and I just like the themes that he's trying to address. So he's really trying to get at like what is it like to be a person and like the human condition, and it's really, really interesting. I mean, clearly he's an extremely famous author, so nothing I'm saying is groundbreaking, but I just wanted to say, like, if you're interested in getting into Russian literature, this is an interesting place to start because it's really confusing, but it's very short. So I feel like if you wanted, you could read this and then like sit with it for a while and then process it. You know what I mean? So it could be a good place to start because it's so short and there's a lot to work with there, like a lot to unpack, and a lot of feelings that come up. So yeah, I read the edition that was translated by Michael R. Katz, and I recommend it. I don't speak Russian, but seemed like he did a pretty good job. Yeah, so that's Notes from Underground by Fyodor Dostoevsky. The next book that I started but I did not finish, so I'll give my thoughts on this fully in my February wrap-up. I believe I'm about halfway through, and that is Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. So if any of you have watched my videos from the past few months, you'll know that this has consistently been on my TBR for many months. So I was very excited that in January I at least got into it. I will be finishing it in February, and then I'll let you know what I think. It's the first Agatha Christie that I've ever read, which is really exciting. And this is one where there's 10 strangers that are on this desert island, and one by one people start dying, and they're kind of like, what is happening? Like, is it one of us that's doing it? Like, is someone else on this island with us? So it's super intriguing, and you kind of jump around from a bunch of different people's perspectives, and I'm loving it so far. It's literally, like, not very long at all, and so I'm really curious to see, like, how this gets wrapped up, because so far, about halfway through, nothing has been wrapped up. So I'm really curious to see, like, how it actually finishes out, but that's Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, and I will give more thoughts when I finish the book. And then last but certainly not least, there's one more book that I started this month and did not finish, and that is Fyodor Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. So like I said, I'm taking a Dostoevsky class, so this is the second book that I have to read for that class. I really love the cover, and this is the edition translated by Richard Pevere and Larissa Volokonsky. So Crime and Punishment, very famous novel, extremely long, like over 500 pages, and it's about a student, and it's about a murder, and it's about like guilt and motivations for crime, and then what happens in the aftermath. So like I said before, he's really examining what it means to be a person, what it means to exist in this world, but then also, you know, what it means to exist with this kind of guilt on your conscience. Yeah, so I've been really enjoying it so far. I am not very far in at all, like probably halfway through part 1. And I think there's 5 or 6 parts, so I'm not very far in at all, and I'll definitely give my thoughts once I finish it. But so far I'm really interested in this little like foray into Russian literature, and I'm excited to read more. So yeah, that was my January reading month. I'm super excited with how it went, and I'm really excited for my February reading month, both to finish up a couple of these books that I didn't get to finish, and also to read some more for fun. Yeah, but thank you so much for stopping in my reading nook. I would love to hear what you read in January, and if there were any new favorites like there was for me, with Everything I Never Told You. Yeah, thank you so much for coming by. Happy reading for February. I'm very excited to see what gets read next month, and I'll see you next time.